to TeamGuru tutorial how to mass upload data to our system. This functionality gives you an option to mass import data from any existing ERP system without IT support, provided data is saved in a standard CSV file. To use our mass upload feature, you have to go to Metric Dashboards module on the left side and then from drop-down menu select Mass Import. And here we see all the tabs and settings for metrics import, import tab, file templates, mapping templates, and activity log. We will learn all about this in a few minutes, but first we need to go over how we need to prepare our document for the upload. There are two file formats that are acceptable. First one is single metric in one row, so you see it on this image. And second one is multiple metrics in one row. So simply put, the difference between these two formats is single metric, you will be setting up several metrics, but they are all in one column in your file. And multi-metrics, each metric will have their own column. So first we have to prepare our document and save it as CSV format. And after that, when we click on our metric dashboards and from drop-down menu we click on mass import, we will need to prepare our mapping templates and file templates. With file template, you are matching your columns and rows from your file to TeamGuru system, so TeamGuru system knows where to take data from. Mapping templates, you need to make sure that you match the names of all of your metrics, org units, and projects from your file to TeamGuru system. So once again, TeamGuru system knows what to match the data with. So let's start with mapping template. Okay, so I have a screenshot of my document. And first thing we need to do, we need to match metric and org units from your document to metric and org unit in TeamGuru system, which means let's say that you have it in your document called PROD, but in the system you would like to be called the metric productivity. So we need to make sure that PROD, the system will recognize that it is data for productivity metric. And to do so, we have to click on our mapping templates. If we are creating a new template, we need to click on a green plus button, or if you are using already existing mapping template, you just need to click the edit pencil button. But we are creating a new one for our video tutorial, so I click on a green plus button. And here you select the title of your mapping template. Let's say I will just do test, and then you can also decide if you would like to be as a name or partner ID. I'm going to do it as a name and click save and return button. And here you see your mapping template, and since we want to modify it, we just have to click on the edit pencil button. And now we are ready to add our metrics and organization units from document. You've also noticed you are able to do the same with action lists and suppliers, but for video tutorial, we are using only metrics and organization units example. So we are under the tab metrics, which means we have to enter all of our metrics into the system. And to do so, we just have to click this green plus button for add mapping function. And here you see we first have to enter metric in the file, which is in your file. So let's say that I would like this metric to put in the system, PROD. So you have to make sure that you enter it exactly the same way as it is in your document. So PROD. And now metric in the system, that's a metric that is already existing in TeamGuru system. So when you just click into your Windows search and from drop down menu, you can just start writing the name of the metric that you would like to match it with, and I would like to match it with productivity cost metric. So now your PROD metric from your file will be matching productivity metric in TeamGuru system. And you also have an option to choose values multiplicators, which are usually used with quality metrics. And once you make your selection, you just click save button. So now you will see it in your metrics list, and you have to do the same thing with all your metrics in the document. And then we will have to match your org units also. So we have to go to Organization Units tab, and now click on the green plus button. And now we have to enter your org unit in your document exactly as it is in your document, so TGCB. And now we will match it with the org unit in the TeamGuru system. So we will find it in the organization structure, click on it and save. And now our org unit is in our mapping template also. And once you are done entering all your metrics and organization unit from a document, you just have to click Save and Return button. And now our mapping template that we call test is created, and we can move on and create our file template. So we just have to click on the File Templates tab. And here you see the list of file templates that are already existing. Not always you have to create a new file template. You will have file templates that they might be matching your document, so you can just use them. But in our case, we want to see how we create a new template. So we click on the green plus button. And now we can enter our title of our file template. Let's say that I will call it TGCB single metric. Metric type, from drop-down menu, you will select option how often your metric is collected. If it's collected daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly. In our case, I can see that in our document we collected monthly. This is for November and for December. So I will choose monthly. Mapping, here you will select from drop-down menu your mapping template that we just created, which is test. Format, you have two options, single metric in one row or multiple metrics. Right now we're doing a single metric. Separator, here you enter either semicolon or comma depending on your computer settings. Number of initial rows to be ignored, that's the number of rows that system has to ignore before uploading your actual data. In our case, it will be only the first row, where is my header. Let's say that the second row will be empty, and then your actual data will start on the third row, then it will have to ignore 2 rows. But in our case, it's only 1 row. And here I would like to also point out, please make sure that your cells in header, or actually the whole document, don't have a wrap text as per image below. If they do have a wrap text, then when you try to upload your file, it will not work and it will show you error. Delete stored value if imported field is empty. This box is checked only in case you want to use it for mass delete data. Let's say that I uploaded this document with all this data and then I realized, oh no, I didn't want to do that. In that case, you need to create a new file with CSV format where you clear all these cells. And when you check this box and upload this new file with clear cells, the system will know that it needs to delete all the previous data entered. But here it's very important, once you check this box and then save your file template, when you get back to it and then you use it again for uploading new data, you need to make sure that you don't forget to uncheck it since the system doesn't do it automatically. And now we are ready to match columns from your document to columns in the system. And we see that column A in our document is used for a date. So then from the drop-down menu, I have 2 options. I can either choose date complete or date part of a day. Per image on your screen, I am including supported date formats by our system. And in our case, our document has a completed date. It's including a month and a year. But let's say that I will have 1 column used for day, one for month and year. In that case, you have to enter in column A, B, C, date, part of a day, and then choose if it's a day, month, week, and so on. So in our example, I would have to enter it like this. Let's say part of the day, year. And now you can see that it's matching. A is a day, B is month, and C is year. But in our case, we are using a complete date. So let's just change that. And I'm going to pick date complete. And we continue with other columns. Column B in your document is used for org unit, so from the menu we'll choose org unit. Column C is used for metric, so from the menu we'll choose metric. And D, E, F column is used for plan, forecast, and actual, so I will enter plan, forecast, and actual value. And you can see that you have all the other options to choose from also, so I'll choose actual value. And very important to point out again, you have to make sure that all these columns in the system are matching the columns in your document. And once you are done setting up your file template, you can just scroll all the way up and hit save and return button. And now before we go to our last step and import our data, I would like to go quickly over the multiple metrics settings in your file template and mapping template because it's a little bit different. And in our file with multiple matrix example, you will see that you have several different org units that they are collecting data for the same matrix. So once again, you have to make sure that you map these org units and matrix with the TeamGuru system. And to do so, once again, you go to mapping templates. And I have already created the one for this example. And I've already entered our metrics from the document to the system, as you can see right here. You notice that you have a matrix ACC actual and ACC planned, and they are both paired with exactly the same metric. And the reason is why we always have a one metric in the system, and you have an option to upload data for actually planned and forecast values for that one metric, and you will see it once we setting up the file template where you enter that option. Then you enter organization units once again from the system, so it's all paired, and once you are done, you have to click and save return button. And now we can go to our file templates and create the new file template for our multiple matrix option. To create a new file template, you have to click on green plus button in the right upper corner, but since we went over that, I have already one ready for us, and it is TGCB multiple matrix. So when I click on it, you will see that the basic setting is exactly the same as for our single matrix in one row, except of format where you have to select multiple matrix in one row. And I've already set up columns A, B, and C since it is for date and org unit, and we already know how to do that. But now we're going to find out what is the main difference between setting up a single or multiple matrix in row, and the main difference is how you set them up in these columns. And for a quick comparison, let's go back to our file template for a single metric in row setup. Here you see that in column C you have the metric name, but then in column D, E, and F you have the values for that metric for plan, forecast, and actual. But you can do the same setup for the multiple matrix, because if you would choose just metric, it will not give you option to enter the name of the metric. Instead, you have to first select the values, if it's actual value, plan, or forecast value. And in our case, in column D, we have actual value. So I have to choose actual value from drop-down menu. And now you will see that you have an extra field where you can put your metric name. This metric name, it needs to be matching the name in your document, not in TeamGuru system. So it has to be the ACC actual and not the accidents from TeamGuru system. So I will enter ACC actual, and it needs to match exactly all the gaps and everything, no misspelling, so the system will recognize it and you will be able to upload the data. And let's do one more column together. So column E in my document is for plan values for ACC. So I'm going to choose plan values. And my metric name is going to be ACC plan. So I enter the metric name right here. And then you continue and set up all the other columns also. And there are two more options under your settings that we haven't talked about yet. Sum up rows by. You use this if you need to sum up data by either date or unit, actually supplier, metric, or grouping key. Let's say in our document, you will have several data for TGCA for a month of May. And you would like to sum up this data for TGCA. In that case, you need to choose that you would like to sum it up by org unit. But now, different example. Let's say that you have a data for month May and June, and you would like to sum up the data for org unit, but you would like to sum it up by date also to get the right totals. In that case, you need to sum up rows by date and by org unit. And the option null value for this period, you have an option to set up in your file a designated column that is for the values that are not applicable for this period. And then once you do, you can use any kind of symbol in those columns for the values that are not applicable for that specific metric. And once you do, you have to specify this column in here so the system will know where to get the data from. And once you are done with your settings, you scroll all the way up and click Save and Return button. And now we are finally ready to import our file. Before you import your file, please make sure that your number format is correct, that you are not using any wrap tags in your document, and also you save your document as a CSV file format. And once you make sure that everything is correct, we can click Import tab. And here you see option upload no records in case of error. It is automatically checked, and we highly recommend to keep it checked every time you are uploading your files. Template, from the menu you will choose your file template, which is the multiple metrics template. And file, my file is called multiple metrics, so I'm going to choose the file from my computer. And after you choose your document from your computer, you need to also make sure that your number format is matching your file. And then once you do, you will hit Import Now. And now we get a green message, which means that our mass import is completed successfully. But now let's go also over if mass import doesn't go through and there is any error. And when you get this message, you have to click on Show Log. So it will show you where the error is so you can troubleshoot. And in this case, when you see all your data in one column, that's usually when you have to select a different separator in your settings. So I would have to choose comma instead of semicolon, and then of course you have to save your file template. And then once again, if you go import and you try to upload it, it will upload correctly this time. But let me show you a few more errors. Here it will show you where the problem is so you can troubleshoot easily. And when you get this message, org unit or metric cannot be mapped, in that case you have to go to your mapping templates and file templates and compare all the information, all the data that it's matching with your file. And just to summarize it, when you get an error message, you need to check if your org unit and matrix are mapped correctly, if your date format is correct, also if your file is saved as CSV format, if you are using the correct separator from your file template settings, and if you are not using any wrap text in your document. And those are the most common errors that you can troubleshoot according to our video. And before we finish today's tutorial, I would like to point out two things. First, when you upload your data, we highly recommend to double check your data with your dashboard. And second, when you create your file template, you don't need to do it every single time whenever you will be uploading the same data, same file. You can just use the one that it's already set up in the system. This should be it for today's video tutorial. So if you have any questions or need any assistance, please don't hesitate to contact us at support@teamguru.com. We would be very happy to hear from you.